sir. So whenever you are ready, we're going to get a bunch of people to pile on here in just a second. I got Blab running up at the exact same time. But you know what? We're going to make this really fun and easy, Shecky, because what I'm going to do is I'm also going to post this over in Blab as well, and just to let people that know that, hey, we are leaving Blab, right, and coming over here to our YouTube video, which I'm really excited about. Also going to post this over in Blab as well. Yeah, and actually we'll just have the live feed run over in Shecky. You know what I just realized, which is really quite cool? Shecky, are you there, by the way?
I'm here.
It's good to see you. Oh, that's right, there you are. It's good to see you, sir. So what I actually just did, you know, that's really interesting is we are going live right now, but we're also live streaming on Blab at the exact same time. Remember how I embedded the Choose Your Own Adventure video into? So I actually just shared the link over to Blab just to let people know, hey, we're not on Blab right now because a lot of our clients unfortunately couldn't get on Blab. And what's going on is we are streaming directly live on Blab, which is interesting. So yeah, it's kind of like it's like people see my face on the bottom of the Blab, but then see the delay at the very top. So it depends on what sound you have turned on and what you're hearing. So what I would suggest for people to do would be to turn off the Blab sound and watch us on the YouTube video. So I'm going to put that on here in just a second. So turn off the Blab sound and join us on Google Live. Hang on one second. Which is the video you see here. All right, there you go. And that blasts out, and that ends over there. So I'm just going to put one last thing over here. It says turn off the Blab sound and turn on Google Live, or join us live on the Google Hangout.
Nice.
Yep. So just a minute, Shecky. I'm going to leave this up and then completely ignore this over here. And we're recording, so we'll cut this little part out of it, but we'll explain a little bit more on what we're doing. And I have a lot of great information to share as well, too.
Great. I know you're at a big mastermind this weekend. I'm excited to hear all about it.
Well, very, very, yeah, I haven't had a chance to catch up with you at all yet, sir, but I will here in just a moment. Shecky, I gave you a link. I gave Nick a link. Nick got that. Nick, give a link. Almost ready. Yay! Welcome. It is great to see everybody here today. Here in the lair here in Austin, Texas. Shecky, it's great to have you here as well, too. Shecky, I have been working on the scale method. I've been attending masterminds. I have not had an opportunity whatsoever to get a haircut, so for the one or two people out of all of them that would say, hey, you guys are wearing hats? Shecky, but you did just change out of your jogging gear, which many of our audience today completely enjoy. So thank you very much for that.
I'm rocking a clean T-shirt.
Well, Shecky, ideally every day you should rock a clean T-shirt. So
I mean, like 5 minutes ago clean, not like this morning.
I know you like fresh food right off the vine, so I'm sure you love clothes right out of the dryer. Is that right?
I do.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Hey, just to let you know, just a couple of things. If you're seeing us on Blab, this will be one of the last Blab things you're probably going to see of us. Maybe I'll run this dual Blab. I'm not really quite sure, but again, I'm just pointing to everybody up there to make sure they're watching a Blab because there's a delay. See, here's the deal. What Shecky and I do is, as you know, is we teach a 12-step scale process. And this is the way that you can scale any business. By the way, Shecky, as a really quick side note, the people that I showed the scale method to this weekend, you're going to see how excited I am on Wednesday. I'll mention that here in just a minute. But
okay.
What's happening is, you know, Shecky, the great thing that I loved about Blab was that you could easily go to the homepage, see a lot of different discussions without a whole lot of search. You know, you can kind of scroll down the categories, and then you can set up and easily schedule a Blab. Now, when you schedule the Blab, you would select out of, I don't remember what it was, 20 different, let's just say it's 20 different categories. Maybe that's it. I'll even record the Blab, I guess, over here and see how that works. But you would choose out of like 20 different categories. So when you went to go find something, it was a really easy search, right? Like you could find, oh, I want to watch something on marketing and entrepreneurship.
Right.
That changed. Because remember, Shecky, we'd have a couple hundred people on that would just organically find us. And if we're going to give free content, we want as many people to say it. And if you guys have seen our free content or content like this, you know that we're not like, opt in. I'm going to tell you that one weird trick, that one secret, opt in. Dude, like, we just want to be able to give content. We can teach content. So we want to make sure that people can easily find us, especially our subscribers. You know, people who follow us on YouTube, people who follow us on Blab, people who follow us on our email. We want to have one place where everybody can join together. Well, Shecky, I don't know if you remember this or not, or if you realize this. Remember the Blab that we did on why mobile marketing is absolutely critical?
I do.
Do you remember that was the day that Blab updated their service? So when we emailed everybody and they clicked through from their cell phone, they couldn't see it because they had to sign in with Twitter?
Oh, the irony. Yes.
Wasn't it? It's kind of like, you have to be kidding me. We get all these customer support tickets and they're like, hey, I can't log on. What's going on? And I know they want our help, but I don't know anything about their platform, what they just changed. I'm finding out at the same time they're finding out, and they're asking me for help. And I'm like,
Right.
So, yeah.
The joys of technology, right?
Yeah, and I thought maybe it was just a glitch because they got great customer support. Maybe it was just a glitch. And then we did it for the next 4 weeks. And more people started to say, man, I love you guys' free content, which we always love to hear. And they're like, we're taking action on the stuff, which is great to hear. And they're like, but we would like to be able to join more calls. Well, what do you mean? Well, sometimes it's really difficult because I try to log in here and this didn't work. I didn't have a Twitter account, but they wanted me to sign up with Facebook, and I didn't want to sign up with Facebook. I just wanted to see your stuff. I didn't want to jump through all these hoops. Now I'm thinking, well, sometimes, Shecky, you and I will make people jump through hoops because we want them to be educated and to take action. But these are hoops I would ever want to have customers or anybody who's looking for us have to jump through. So Google Hangouts isn't necessarily the best technology, but I think what we're going to start doing is we're going to use, Nick had purchased a software that would use Google Hangouts as well too, Webinar GM, and then what we would do is we could have a lot more of these presentations. The goal is I want to have a live stream presentation that we use that ideally is uploaded to YouTube. We're running a lot of stuff on YouTube right now and just seeing some great, fun, early results. So at the end of the day, Shecky, the ironic thing is it would be a great idea to run all of these live Hangouts right directly on either our webpage, just FYI for everybody else, on our website, because that allows Google to see that people are hanging out on your website
right
for extended period of time versus just 30 seconds, 2 minutes. People could be watching for 10, 15, 20 minutes. So it's an advantage. And then plus with Google Hangouts like we have here, you'll see the questions over on the right-hand side that you can type in. It doesn't look like you're able to type it in Blab, so you'd have to join us actually on the live video that you see on Blab, I guess would be over there. It's kind of weird. Like I got two screens up, Shecky. If I point this way on Hangouts, it goes that way. On Blab, it goes that way. But okay. I just had to take a deep breath. So basically at the end of the day, Shecky, what we want to be able to do is host these right directly on our social media Ad Genius YouTube channel. For some reason, I just host directly on my personal channel. I couldn't get that fixed by the time that this happened to get the email out. So moral of the story, we're going to be doing some live casts directly from social media Ad Genius YouTube channel. And we're just going to move to the YouTube channel just because we want to get our content found in online searches. It's not happening with Blab. It was early on. We want to make sure that if you're on a mobile phone, tablet, desktop, you can join very easily without having to sign into anything. And we want to make sure that, hey, if you believe that you love this content, we want you to be able to share it and have other people to access it too. So that is why we are on YouTubes today, Shecky. That is why we are not on the Blab. I see a couple of people from Blab jump in. Yeah. I really did like the platform, and I still do. But, like right now, we would typically have 70, 80 people who are coming over to the Blab watching what we're doing. And today it's 8. It's too bad. Really, really just is.
Well, good for us for being early adopters. And now I can officially say Blab is dead to me.
Blab is dead to me.
Never speaking to him again.
Just a little inside joke. Shecky and I have a client from. By the way, Shecky, can you hear me clear? I'm actually just on my Mac computer and I'm not on my Yeti microphone. I just thought about that right now. Can you hear me?
It sounds good. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't give it a 10 out of 10, but it's it's a 7 or an 8.
Good. Okay, that's fine. And anyway, We just ended up parting ways with this client. You're dead to me. We will never talk again. Some people are just crazy. Gotta love the crazies. Sometimes they're some of the smartest people in the world, but they're crazy. So, Shecky, let's talk about some fun stuff right now. So, I'm going to tie this in with Blab a little bit. You know, Shecky, one of the best ways to communicate with your customers is to talk about, this was really good, the one thing. You know what's really important about the one thing? My one thing.
What's your one thing?
Is not as important as your one thing.
I'd agree with that.
So Ryan made a really good point this weekend. So just for a little pretext, is I spent the weekend for 3 days at Ryan Levesque's higher end mastermind for the Ask Method. Now, Shecky, I did not tell you this. The Ask Method mastermind I was at for this weekend, it was $10,000 for 3 days.
Wow.
Now, during that process, is people are always ask me, Kurt, well, why would you guys attend something like that, right? So let me tell you some of the people that were in the room this weekend, Shecky, that I talked to about the scale method. Then we're going to talk about some of Ryan's methods that combine the two together. They'll have a baby called Profit. Ooh, we should use that as a tagline. Does that sound great?
I like it.
If the scale method and the ask method had a baby, it'd be called Profit. I'm going to send that to Ryan today. He's gonna love that or be offended. Not really quite sure.
I don't think he'll be offended.
He'll laugh at it. Ryan's a great friend. So basically, for people who don't know what the ask method is, the ask method designed by Ryan Levesque, this has actually been handed down. So he is not the godfather and creator. He would be the perfecter, right? And you always want to follow brilliant minds. Now, to give you a little background on Ryan, he's taught, and I believe it was at Baylor that he taught at, Shecky, neuroscience or neuromarketing. He was a teacher. He's worked in China, in lots of different areas. Now, he has a little stupid pet human trick that he says he doesn't like to, or he doesn't show off on command. And I'm like, oh, that sounds almost like a challenge. And he speaks either 4 or 5 different dialects in Chinese. And he can mimic the accents and dialects so well, people think that he's lived in China for 10, 20, 30 years.
Right.
And that's just one small little glimpse of how brilliant Ryan is. Now, Ryan wrote a book called The Ask Method, or Ask. Now, you can find this book on Amazon. Everybody should read it. I have, actually, that's really important because I'm just going to show you this. This is going to be super exciting, Shecky. I haven't shown you any of this. So Ryan wrote a book here called Ask. Unequivocally get this book, right? Shecky, do you see the question section over on the side? Can you type in there?
I can't see it.
Oh, you can't see the question section?
Wait, let me see if I can. Is it the chat you're talking about?
Yeah, the chat.
Okay. You want me to put something in there?
Like a link over to his book. You can just go and just search on Amazon and just look for it. But the reason is we talk about the book Asked, is Ryan has written out his entire process, step by step. Or with the process in a second. Now, the other thing is templates, exactly what to do and exactly what to say, and emails to exactly fill out, and creatives for exactly what I'm about to tell you all about. So here's the interesting thing. Ryan has been in marketing for many, many years. One of the things that Ryan did back about 8 years ago as he started getting online is he implemented what one of his teachers taught him very early on, Dr. Leveque. I can't remember his first name off the top of my head right now. What he did is he calls it the ask method. What he basically does is he asks his audience or prospective audience a deep dive set of questions. Not a focus group, just a deep dive set of questions. Would you be interested in this? What does this mean to you? Please tell us more about you. Because, Shecky, it doesn't matter about my one thing. It only matters about your one thing when you're going on. And for instance, let's just talk about golf, for example. So the thing is, the reason that I'm going to buy a golf club is going to be very different than the reason Shecky is. But what most of the marketers do out there is they say, hey, everybody, look at my golf clubs I have on sale. Now, the problem is when you start selling stuff on sale right away, you condition your buyers to always be waiting for your next sale.
Right.
Not necessarily a good thing. You got to give people the right information to buy and why they need to buy right now. Why they need to buy right now can't be done at a discount, but if done right, can be very, very profitable. So here's what Ryan does. Ryan starts out first, and Shecky, there's a really good surprise towards the end of this, right, that we're working with Ryan on that I think you're really going to love. But the first thing that Ryan does is he starts to deep dive and survey his audience. And he starts to ask a lot of questions. Starts to ask them what makes them them. It depends on the niche, male, female, age range. Hey, can you help me out? And answer just a few questions. Not can you fill out a survey. Hey, got a couple of quick questions, just so I can better serve you. And he asks a sequence of questions, both where people get a yes-no choice, just so he understands and knows a little bit about them. And he gets long-form questions as well. Where people have to type in exactly, they have to type in like, hey, this is what this means to me, or this is how important, for instance, golfing is to me, or for Shecky, for you. It's really important for me to drive a ball further than it is just to putt. Great. Now what Ryan does is he takes all that information, and I can share this one tip. This was great. He takes all that information, all that written information, Shecky, when everybody writes all their comments long form, just like we can go into Entreport and look at all the students' comments that you've been working on step 1 in the funnel, right?
Right.
He takes all those words, which we could read a lot of, condenses them, and then drops them into an SEO keyword ball. Do you remember seeing those little keyword balls on the side of website, Shecky, with the big words that were prominent on the side of the display?
More
right?
used because of the copy. Yeah.
So when you get all that feedback from 20 people or 200 people, instead of reading it for 3 hours, you drop it in that keyword ball, and it shows you the exact words you should be using on your landing page, on your opt-in page, and how I'm going to best talk to Shecky, and how you're going to best talk to me.
Yeah, great.
So now you get, isn't that simple? It's one of those simple things that it's like, wait a minute. Now, if you apply it to our side on scale, this should be really done during the avatar approach. I mean, that's one of the things, Shecky, is as we're developing up the rest of the training, and this is something I know you and I will talk more in private on Wednesday, but avatar creation will unequivocally be more of a deep dive that we're going to go into. I think maybe that's more that we train next week. That actually could be a great training point for next week, the deep dive into the avatar. Because Ryan goes such a deep dive into the avatar. What he does is he starts to compile data of the words that they use, the ads they respond to, the surveys that they fill out, even before he has a list. Or he even decides if he wants to go into a market. Let me give you a good example. He talks about having an orchid business. Great business.
Orchid?
Orchid. Flowers.
Flowers.
This is one of the first ones he got started 8 years ago.
Gotcha.
Now what happens is people come to his website because he runs paid ads to his website. People come to his website and he has a survey on his website. It says, take this quick quiz. If your orchids are, for example, if your orchids suffer from leaves falling out, brown and yellow leaves, or only being able to bloom once a year, or only being able to bloom once, situation. Fill out this quiz to find out how you can prevent these 3 killers of orchids within the next 30 days. So what they do is they answer a sequence of questions. Let's just say 5 to 7 questions long. Now, when they answer those questions, well, first of all, Shecky, when they landed on that landing page and those 3 things that I just mentioned about that plant, do you think that was a marketing person that came up with that tagline? Or do you think those are the 3 most important subjects that most people said when they visited this site they needed to take care of?
I think it's the latter, not the former.
Yeah. It's written just by their language. So now answer the questions. Now we know that, for example, Shecky is a 45-year young man, and he is interested in orchids, and for some reason that they never bloom again after the first time. And the very first email he gets, it's going to say, at the end of that time Shecky fills out the survey, they'll be, hey, we're going to email you detailed answers. And the email that Shecky's going to get is going to say, hi, Shecky, it's great to meet you. Now, if you're 45 years young, you probably understand the reference too. And if your plant seems not to be able to produce bloom every single year and only does it once, we're definitely going to be able to show you how to. Everything after that how to is going to be some bullet points on how Shecky can make sure those annual blooms come back. And whatever they write after that about their different products of, hey, let me show you how you can grow bigger and better orchids. Well, that's not Bloom, but Shecky got his question answered, and he's getting his solution for exactly what he wanted by coming to the site very early, instead of targeting people to one site and one solution. See, what ends up happening, Shecky, this blends perfectly, not only with our avatar research, but it blends perfectly into our back-end Splinter offers as well, too.
For sure.
I'll tell you exactly what product and services that they're looking for. It's critical. Now, I tried to use a long title here that didn't work as well as I hoped it did. But let me just tell you who was in the room. So I've told you about the process that Ryan uses to basically use data either from advertising or his list to figure out, is this the right market? What's their language? He really does a deep dive on the avatar. Now from that, he grabs that information, he starts doing some testing on some basic surveys to survey the audience when they come in to see, are these questions that the general public might like to answer, and does this help me better define my avatar? Even before he has a product. Maybe he just sends them a small little ebook, or just asks them to take a quiz. There are thousands of quizzes out there, Shecky, for example, like on BuzzFeed and other sites, that people just take just to figure out what their answer is, or their score is, or their quick. There's no download ebook or selling anything or anything else. So what Ryan will do is he'll test that. He'll test, what about like a Facebook ad over, do people raise their hand and take the survey? I just want to know, like, what are people saying so we can get those pages written. So Shecky, you and I like to play this simple game called fun, facts, and math, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's more expensive? Writing out your very own landing page, which you think that your audience wants, and split testing, say $1,000, just to see what your numbers are, or spending $500 to do some testing where you're getting some survey data from a brand new list, even though you don't have reference to any of them, right? Just ask them to fill out a fun quiz that you can do through like a light campaign, and then spend the other $500 figuring out your landing page and what your control website clicks are. What would you do out of those two options?
I would pick B all day long.
Yeah, absolutely, right? It's really simple. So here's the deal. What ends up happening is not only do you start to get to see Splinter offers, but your avatar feels like you're talking directly to them.
Right.
Now, they do this in surveys, or they do this in quizzes, they do this with videos, and Shecky. The people that were in this room were here to attend this live event. A few of them because they took massive action and they generated thousands of leads just to get there. And that is, Ryan basically said, here's my product, here's my service, here's what we can do, here's my training. You implement it. If you can generate over 10,000 leads in 30 days by doing this process from scratch, brand new market, he's like, I'll give you a ticket to my intensive, to my mastermind. Now, who would take him up on that offer? It's actually somebody that we know, Shecky, was one of our former clients in the astrology niche that actually got to go. So I got to see him. But Shecky, when I walked in that room, Ryan had invited and had gathered some of the smartest people, 35 people I have seen in a room in a really long time. Now, I go to a lot of masterminds, but this is a really diverse group. So, for example, let me give you some legends. When I say legends, like these, Kevin Rogers, I know you've met Kevin before. Kevin's great. Todd Brown, personally looked at the scale method, loves it, was talking about the funnel because it was all inspired by a lot of it by Todd being there. He's like, Kurt, I don't think you understand how brilliant this concept is. There's a couple of things I want to give you some insight on some funnels, which is great. Of course, Ryan Levesque was teaching there, a great contact that we have, and many people will never know this name except very, very internal circles, is Mr. Leveque. I don't even have to say his first name. He's just a man behind a couple of just really large companies. He doesn't really like to be well known, but he's somebody who's absolutely just brilliant. One of our great friends that we've interviewed as well too, Josh Turner from LinkedIn was there. So I had from LinkedIn University, had a great conversation about a great individual who does a lot of business to business. Also, another great friend of mine I haven't seen in over a year, Mr. Scott Moran, from Sam Cart and Get 10,000 Fans. It was good to hang out and talk with Scott for a while. Someone I've never met before, James Schramko, based out of Australia. He was here in town. And I'm like, dude, I've always wanted to meet you. He goes, I've heard so much about you just, through the years hearing about each other. And it's just, it really is an honor. And it's so humbling when somebody so well known and so well respected says, yeah, we've heard lots of great things about you. which was great. You know, there was also another guy there that doesn't even matter if I mention his name because nobody else would know him here because he literally has one picture on a Facebook page, his personal page that he hasn't changed in 6 years. He has over 4 different businesses that are doing 7 figures a year, easy, by using this ask method to qualify. So he picks out markets, really starts targeting people, and can really drive a lot of traffic. So Shecky, in that room, there were over 3 companies in there that do over $100 million a year.
Sweet.
There's only 35 of us.
Yeah.
I say all this, this process has worked in every niche. And the more that I talk about relevance checking and how relevant we have to be, this deep dive just blew it out of the water for me. I'm like, this is exactly what people require because look at Brian Johnson for a case study. There was someone else there in the fitness niche and he does quite well. And he's like, man, Kurt, my cost per click is like $1.20. Like and I go, dude, what about if you get 9-cent likes, 1 penny video view, 23-cent follow-up, another 23-cent follow-up, another 25-cent follow-ups. We're under 80 cents total, and you have 4 different exposures. We're targeting a website, it's a 5th different exposure for under $1. A lot of people can't get website clicks for $1.
Right.
He's like, what? And I go, dude, just watch this choose your own adventure video, which I'll list out here and answer here in just a second. I go, choose your own adventure video. And like, he went through it and he goes, oh my goodness, I haven't even focused on relevance. I haven't focused on a like campaign. And he thought he would be considered what we would say, Shecky, as a genius user. And he wasn't. Here's the big point I want to make, and then Shecky, I'm happy to answer any questions or have you dive into any more details. What really did it for me was, you know, we've been talking so much about Relevance Score, and then when Ryan was talking about doing the deep dives, he then shows a graph where for the last 8 years, his business has been like this. Now, I'm not saying flatlined. I'm saying consistently spends the same amount on ads, gets the same amount of revenue that's predictable every single month. He knows how much it is to advertise, to acquire a new customer, when customers drop off, how much they order, the average order value. And this one business, he's like, this pays for my lifestyle that I like, which he's very modest in his lifestyle, right? He's not real fancy. It's just not who he is. It's a great individual. And all the other businesses are fun, but a lot of them are over 7-figure businesses, and it's all because he knows who his avatar is. So Shecky, I love how relevant his stuff is. I love how consistent it works, and it just we're gonna hold actually a webinar with Ryan in the next couple of weeks.
Well, that's awesome. That's great. When I talk about getting a little echo, I don't know if that's me or you, but
I can put on my headset.
I'm going to just turn my sound down just a little bit. But I love the way that this ties into the relevance score. You know, just being able to poll your audience and use some pretty basic technology. And you know, I know that he's got some software and that sort of stuff too that he uses, but I would guess, and I might be wrong about this, but I know that there's probably some funnels that are doing just fine using free tools like SurveyMonkey or Typeform or some of this other stuff that you can still gather the data without having to buy fancy software. So I'm mentioning that only because I'm guessing there's probably some people on this call that are going, oh crap, I don't want to start dealing with more technology now. And, you know, I can relate to that. So, but yes, it's interesting because I'm preparing all the final slides now for the scale method, which is in beta, right? And so I'm getting to the real pretty versions now and tightening everything up from the way we delivered it in alpha version. And I'm at that point where we're talking a lot about avatar and that sort of stuff. So it's very, very timely. And especially since this whole thing came out with Brian Johnson the last couple of weeks, it's like, like what if you just had the ability to ask your most perfect avatar, hey, what's your deal? What do you like? What do you not like? You know, what's important to you? What keeps you up at night? I mean, these are things that most marketers will have a very good educated guess about, and there's nothing wrong with that. And then they'll go and test those guesses. And again, there's nothing wrong with that either. But why not just go right to the heart of the matter and just ask them if you can? Like it's just, It's like one of those things where you're just going like, why didn't I think of that?
It's so interesting. There was one guy in the audience that he runs a successful business in the financial niche, a couple of successful businesses in the financial niche. And Ryan was showing him this one page of a site, just one of the examples. And the guy's like, that language on there, like, that doesn't make any sense. Why would you say, and it was like this catchphrase of like, we have moderate server levels at this time. Please order quickly or this page closes out within 3 minutes. And he's like, does the page close out in 3 minutes? He goes, well, yeah, that page does close out in 3 minutes. Well, is there a server problem? I've never heard that before. I think that's ridiculous. I wonder what kind of scam is that? And the guy kind of went off for like 30 seconds. And Ryan just looked at him, and I knew exactly what Ryan was going to say because I've known him for years. And Ryan goes, you're not that audience. This has worked for 8 years. I would have thought the same thing. But you're not the audience. And it was so profound. It's like, oh yeah, just because I see something I don't like it or I love it, it doesn't matter until I run the numbers. And it doesn't matter if and Shecky, you help me with this all the time. I love the scale method. There are 12 steps. We can show you how to scale your traffic. I can go on about it all day long. And if people get overwhelmed and they don't take action, then I'm not helping anybody. And that goes completely against all the core of what we really want to do. So let's make it really simple. So we're talking in people's language. That's why we made the fun choose your own adventure videos.
Yeah.
Talk to people in their own language so they can really understand the concept so they can take action.
And that's a lot about what I'm working on too, by the way, is just, putting things, I mean, when we went through the first time, it turned out really great. I mean, I'm not belly aching about that, but I'm just saying to come up with this, finished product that's going to be an elite product in the marketplace as far as training for online marketing, it's going to be like, this is it. It's black and white. Like there's no like conjecture or guesswork about, what you may want to do. Like these are all like, hey, you want to be an internet marketer? Do this. Once you get this done, and here's what all the benchmarks you need to achieve to do it, now do that, right? Mm-hmm. And so I'm trying to keep that in as simple a language as possible. But I heard obviously met some of the guys that were going to Ryan's thing at the event on Thursday night. And that was great. That was a fun night. And I saw you were hanging out with Dave from Idaho too, which is kind of cool. So there's some Dave Leveque.
Oh my goodness. Yes.
Amazing Dave. Yeah.
I did not know, Shecky, that he was, I did not know that he was a professional fighter sponsored by Budweiser.
I did not know that either. But
yeah, he's brilliant.
It's just one of those guys that I connected with a long time ago and followed him for years. And it's like, the guy's just smart as a whip. When he talks, I listen.
Yeah. And just for everybody else, this is a persuasion expert that was actually raised in a cult from the age of 3 years old. After he got kicked out of the cult and left the cult when he was 16, he was very passionate about how do people get seduced? What is the seduction? What is the persuasion? And he's written many books about it. He was talking about him working with the country of Poland to help on some social issues that he's also was a professional fighter, sponsored by Budweiser. This is someone that's brilliant that I have. Shecky, I can show this because it literally is, it's top secret. I'm not allowed to show this, but people won't be able to see the whole thing. Hang on. Let's see here real quick.
The secret cabinet.
No, I guess I don't have them hung up right. I actually have Dave's, remember I showed you this, his persuasion techniques all lined on the inside of the cabinet. So I'm working right over here at my desk. I open it up and it's absolutely just perfect. Just perfect.
Yeah, it's interesting when you look at that stuff, you can kind of go back and look through history. Maybe not, the most positive example, but like Nazi Germany and things like that, and look at how masses of people were persuaded just to become part of this movement, right? Yeah. And when you really think about your own marketing and building a list, and to a certain extent, we use words like tribe all the time. And to an extent, in any niche that you are in, if you're really good, you're building a movement. You're not just necessarily building a list per se. You're building people that are, and we know that the good marketers are obviously polarizing people. Sometimes marketers get really hung up about that word. It's like, well, I don't want to polarize anybody. And it's like,
exactly.
no, you really want to polarize everybody. It's actually the opposite, because the ones that hate
done right. Yep. Agreed.
The ones that hate you, like, let them go away, right? But the ones that love you really love you, and they identify with what you're doing, and they eat up every word that you say. And it's like I mean, I don't like to use the word guru, but it's like look at the way I just described Dave. I go, look, he's a brilliant guy, and when he talks, I listen.
Absolutely.
That's when you start polarizing, you start looking at some of that persuasion stuff, and you're the kind of marketer that can actually build a tribe more than a list. That's a pretty big distinction. And that's the kind of thing that's the difference between somebody that's making, 2, 3, 4, 5 grand a month and 40, 50, 80, 100 grand a month.
Agreed. Yeah. I mean, just completely agree. It's just, persuasion all comes down to be used for both good or evil, right? Sure. And we want to make sure, obviously, we're using it for very good. It's really amazing that when you get into a product, like for me, for scale, and Shecky, I know you're much in the very same way, is we know when people apply it, they unequivocally can change their life. And I don't just say that for a sales line. Like, we unequivocally know that it works.
Yeah.
Like when I show Todd Brown the scale method, he's just laughing. He's like, this is good. This is really good. I go, no, I got this from your event. He goes, Kurt, you don't understand. This is exactly what he said to me, Shecky. He goes, you don't understand how brilliant this is. He goes, I want to help you reframe it a little bit to make it a little bit easier for everybody else. But he goes, you know what I would call this? He goes, this isn't a no-brainer. This is an IQ test. He goes, if people don't do this, it's an IQ test. Like, this is so simple, so broken down. You have no idea. You have no idea how genius this is. And I'm like, this is great. And his girl sat down. They're like, what are you talking about? Todd's like, hands down, foremost, Kurt's one of the best top experts of Facebook in the world. Hands down, best that I know. And I'm like, I like this conversation. This is great. But it's Todd Brown. His point of reference in building funnels is amazing.
Yeah.
So moral of the story is, I want to help as many people as possible. We're going to be doing a big deep dive survey here over the next week or so, Shecky. We're going to practice what we preach, right? We're going to do a really big deep dive survey, because I am reformatting into what I learned, and we're going to apply from the ASK method, is Shecky, very soon we're going to come out with a survey. I haven't even told you about this yet. I'll show you on, it's more of we'll do a deep dive survey first, and after that it'll be a quiz. And that quiz, pretty much I already know what it is. It's the 3 Facebook success killers that will kill and destroy predictability, scalability, and profitability. Find out if you score on any of these 3 mistakes with this 45-second survey you take below. 8 questions. You get your own answer. Score to 1 to 15. How you rank. So I created it on Saturday. On Sunday, there was a bodybuilder that was there, and we were talking about relevance score. And I'm like, dude. And I showed him just 5 slides from our presentation, Shecky, and he's like, I would have considered myself an advanced user. And I go, do me a favor, go through the choose your own adventure, which I've listed here on the showcase for everybody. I think that shows up in the recording, or I don't know how that shows up on everybody else's end.
I don't see it in the group chat. I see my link to ask, but.
Yeah, see, the interesting thing is like, I can't see your group chat.
Huh, okay.
Well, actually, hang on a second. Now I can. Oh, you know what, Shecky? You know what it is? That's right. You have to go over to the left-hand side. If you go to the left-hand side of your screen, you're going to see like a little gold tickets, right?
Showcase?
Yes, click on that.
Okay.
We're relearning the system.
Okay.
Now you should see a link for your choose your own adventure, right?
Yeah, but I don't see the chat anymore. But yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yep. So FYI, just for everyone else, just to let you know, is if you move over on the right-hand side of your screen, or I'm sorry, on the left-hand side of your screen, you're going to go ahead. Oh, Shecky, if you start playing with the effects and everything else, something's going to happen, which means we'll be on the call for an extra 2 hours because clown hats show up, these noses show up.
I'm going to blow something up here.
Yeah. The best thing is try not to touch too many things. I
got to throw in something while we're talking about, because there's an interesting psychology. You're talking about persuasion, right? And as you're talking about ask and quizzes and things like that, here's what I find really interesting. So human beings, of course, one of the things we know about persuasion is they're very, very much driven by ego, right? It's like, well, I'm the biggest, I'm the baddest, I'm the strongest, I'm the smartest, right?
Right.
So when you can put a survey, questionnaire, or something that's got language in it that questions like their IQ or how much knowledge they have about marketing, if they're a marketer or whatever, it's like putting the frickin' hook in. Like, it's really hard for somebody, especially if they know it's just a 45-second survey, it's really hard for them to resist that. It's like, wait a minute, I'm smart, I'm a badass, I'm gonna answer these 3 questions because I wanna find out how I did. I mean, I'm gonna nail this mofo, right? Yep. Like, and so this is the interesting thing, and I'm sure you guys probably talked about that this weekend, but it's like, when you combine that sort of element of teasing people by their ego, like that has to be scratched, right? Yeah. And then you put the survey in front of them to where they're going to get that itch scratched. Oh my God, it's friggin' awesome, you know. And you get a lot more respondents.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I might be getting a little feedback. Are you hearing feedback on that at all?
I'm good now.
You're good. Let me see this here just real quick. Let me see if I can make an adjustment.
Turn my sound down. That helps.
All right. Well, I want to make sure, there was a relevancy score that we did for the scale method that I posted. Let me make sure that people have that link that will show up as a card. Just a moment. There we go. There should be a little link that appears. This is a part of an experiment that I'm also going to test with as well too, Shecky. Let's see here where we're at. Yes, a tiny bit feedback on Kurt's end. Okay, so let me go ahead and fix this real quick. I need to go back here. Oh, just a moment, Shecky. I'm looking over to the screen. As you know, I have multiple screens up over here. I need to make sure I fix something here real quick. That looks. Oh, that's perfect. So now, Shecky, oh, that's great, that's great, that's great. Now, as anybody's watching this video, what I just put up there is you'll see a little exclamation point at the very top of it. Shecky, you won't see it on your end, but people who are watching the broadcast live, see, here's the really interesting thing, Shecky. This Google Hangout thing, you know this. Shecky, how much time do I work perfecting something versus just figuring it out, breaking it, and trying to figure it out along the way?
Do I really have to answer that question?
Well, I think the look on your face, everybody here on the live broadcast can truly understand that.
I will tell everybody that's listening, I will tell you, it's part of Kurt's brilliance, but it's also the stuff that drives me nuts.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm a pretty organized guy, and I want to at least have some semblance of order going into something. But Kurt's like, hey, whatever, I don't care. Let's just break something and move forward and put it out there, and whatever needs to be fixed, we'll fix later. And I'm like, yeah, but it all seems to work out. We somehow managed to achieve a balance, and it's all good,
So what's interesting, Shecky, is on the live broadcast, these great Q&A questions that we have over on the right-hand side, and then we also have these showcases that we share, that, right?
Yeah.
Well, what I discovered during this entire presentation, no one else watching us can see that. They can't see the questions. They can see our screen if we wanted to share our screen, but they can't see the showcase. So if they can't see the showcase, how are we going to be able to show them the Choose Your Own Adventure videos? So
that's a good question.
What I did, I was resourceful during this call. I was able to find out on the Googles, because that's where everything is known, and you should believe everything on the Googles. But besides that fact, it allowed me to create an annotation. And what an annotation basically is, for people who are watching embedded, if you're really interested in what we're talking about on the relevance, driving up your relevance score, really dropping your ad cost, making sure that your ads are even more predictable, you're able to go up on the screen that you're watching us live right now, and you can click, it looks like a little eye. If you hover over it, it says more info, and when you click on it, a little card comes out and it shows you the scale method, important case study, and that's Brian Johnson. This is a 7-minute and 47-minute video that gives you the highlights of what we're then going to cover over a 4-video series, and there's no opt-in. You can just check it and just go over it right away. But Shecky, that's the only way for us to get the Q&A down. So what's going to happen in the future videos, and I know this even without asking everybody, but we will be asking everybody. I know we want to make it really easier because our users have asked us to give them super easy access to our content. So Shecky, what I envision this to be probably next week is we'll be hosting this live hangout directly on our website, blog.socialmedia@genius.com. And on that site, we'll have a chat box. So you and I will be able to see the chat. We'll be able to engage with people in chat so they can ask us questions. Unfortunately, and we'll be doing that with Webinar Jam, actually. Unfortunately, right now, the only thing I can share with people is the Choose Your Own Adventure link that people will see, again, if you hover up on the top right-hand side of your screen. It's a 7-minute video. You can watch that as soon as we're done here in just a couple of minutes. As soon as you're done that, watch that. But we've created this whole video series on YouTube that you can see thousands of people have watched it over the last couple of days. When you add up all the video views and people are choosing their own adventure, and it's really exciting. And we haven't really even got started of really promoting it or anything else. But Shecky, I can tell you, Scott Moran, love the Red Rocket. Todd Brown, love the Red Rocket. There were a lot of people, and one of a great, I met a student of ours, Bruce, that I mentioned before too. This is somebody who's doing some amazing things with life and business. He's a great guy. And he's like, man, Kurt, I got to give it to you. I was getting 45-cent likes. Now it's 9 cents thanks to the scale method. Some other guy comes up to me and goes, what's the scale method? The program you should buy from Kurt? It's $2,000. I'm like, well, the way the whole thing works is, he's like, just buy it. Just get involved. Get 6 months of support. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. Nick says people love the Red Rocket. People love the Red Rocket.
Wasn't exactly what he said, but close enough.
Close enough. Close enough. I was telling people all weekend long, and I'm pretty sure we can make an email out of this. And if you click on the right-hand side, where that I is for the card, Shecky, I've told lots of people this, and I send exactly this email. Shecky, now I got a favor to ask you. I don't ask very many favors. What I want you to do is I want you to watch my Red Rocket, and I want you to touch my Red Rocket. Now, I don't want to make this awkward or weird. Please don't make this awkward. Click on this link, watch my Red Rocket, click on my Red Rocket, and don't make it awkward.
Okay.
That's all I say. And then I sign it, and the response I get back from people are like, oh my goodness, this is awesome, which is great. And basically, just for everybody here, it is a very clean video with a Red Rocket that will blast you off to your Choose Your Own Adventure series. I have heard this is, people have told me that they received more at the event, that they received more in the Choose Your Own Adventure series than they had with some people by spending over $1,000 on Facebook training.
Fantastic. Yeah, there's some good stuff there. You put a lot of great content into there that turned out really, really nicely.
Yeah, we have some live presentations coming up too. We're setting some schedulers around that. We'll let everybody else know as well too. But I think the way I kind of want to wrap this up, Shecky, is really for a long time. I have known this amazing guy. Let me see here. I got to close one other tab here just to make sure that this is still functioning properly, which it is. I'm really happy about that. All right. So here's what. Let's see here. I got to make one more adjustment. Shecky. Nope, that's not working, so that doesn't really matter to me. All right. I've known Ryan for the last 3 years. We were really early supporters of Ryan. I said this even in a video I did with Ryan. Hey, one of our claims to fame is we're even in the book Ask by thanking us for being an early supporter as well too. Now, watching Ryan over the years, I've seen his business grow like this. But I've also seen him take on lots of clients where I know if people have had issues. I know that there's always issues on marketing campaigns, and I know how he handles himself in the good times, in the bad times, in the rough times, in the stressful times. He is a consistent producer that his stuff just works. Now, I got the recipe book that we're going to be using for the scale method. What I'm also going to do is I'm going to share with you small tidbits. Now, I did sign a confidentiality agreement. I can't give you the book. I can't tell you everything that we talked about. I can't share with you the templates. It would only be fair because Ryan has spent 8 years plus in 23 different industries and has produced millions of leads. I mean, Shecky, in some of his niches, he's producing over 90,000 leads a day. Some leads 36,000. If you're producing $36,000 a day and you're spending $10,000 a day in media because you profit $14,000, who would not do that? Or like Todd Brown was talking about, he looks at this. I'm going to give you this one tip from Todd Brown. I'd actually give you 2 tips from Todd Brown that were brilliant this weekend. He says he looks at his email acquisition, his customers, as like stocks and bonds. They're an investment. They're great people, and if you train them right, they will be with you for the long term. So even if he breaks even in the first year, he's like, if you were to buy a stock and it didn't lose any value, like, wouldn't you hang on to it for a while? And if it started to gain some value, even 2 or 3 years later, even at 2 or 3%, I mean, 4% right now would be great if that gained every year for 3 years. I mean, according to regular bank standards. But what about 20%? What about if I put in $1 and by the end of the year, I made my dollar back? I mean, I didn't really make any money if I could afford to go out for $1. But then the next year it's $1.20, and then the next year it's $1.40, or maybe it drops off a little bit. Then the next year it's $1, it goes to $1.50. What Todd said was brilliant, Shecky, and I love this, and it goes with my simple fun and math. Todd goes, because it was right after my scale method, we were talking to this person at our table. Todd goes, look at it this way. Shecky, how many business owners would put in 80 cents to make $1?
All day long.
All day long. How many business owners would put in $1 to make $1?
They'd probably still do it.
If we talk to 100 people, how many people would be willing to spend $1 to make $1?
Well, I think you'd probably have a small percentage at that point, depending on what business they're in.
Now, do you think because that's a belief system that they have, or is that just because?
Well, I think it depends on their niche, and it depends on how they look at it. I just to kind of put the asterisks on this distinction that you're making, at least what Todd is saying, at least this is the way I sort of define it in my own head, is you can talk about buying a lead or a customer versus investing in a lead or a customer, right? And when you make the distinction about a stock or a bond, I mean, it's an investment. You know, do you buy stocks or do you invest in stocks? Well, you invest in them, right? And so, but I think you can take that one other layer too, beyond the financial, right? Because it almost dials back around to what we were talking about before about developing a tribe. Like are you really investing in the future, in the benefit of the people that are doing business with you?
Right.
It's not just about your metrics here. It's not just about your profits, but it's like, what is your, and it's almost, I'm almost talking like in a spiritual sense,
holistic.
What's the real deep intent of where you're going with that? Like I know I look at you, Kurt, and I feel the same way. Our intent, it's especially now with the amount of personalized attention that we're giving people through the scale method, the intent is to really, really help these people scale their business, right? To help them become super profitable, to, create something that's very sustainable for them, right? It's not just about, training them and selling them a product, right? So
this could work in lots of different industries. So just to go through the numbers real quick, lots of businesses would spend $80 to make 100. Lots.
Yeah.
Very few businesses would spend $1 to make $1 because they're like, well, wait a minute. If I'm just going to sell, for example, toenail clippers, and they're $1, and it costs $1 to make and ship, and I'm going to sell them for $1, I'm not going to make any money. But if you're in the toenail business, I'm sure if you're in the fingernail business, right? Notice I said fingernail or toenail business and not just the fingernail clipper business, right? You probably have additional products and services that you can offer as well. So what you really got to take a look at is what does that cost, for acquisition at first, like buying a stock or bond, and then how can that grow overall? Now, here's what Todd said that was brilliant. Todd's like, look, most business owners put in 80, make 100, they do it. Put in 100, make 100, takes a whole lot of convincing, and they just don't understand the lifetime value of the customer. Now, what about the business who's willing to spend $2 to make $1 the first year?
That's somebody with a lot of foresight.
Who's going to buy all the traffic? The person that's willing to spend $80 to make 100, or the person who's willing to spend 200 to make 100?
Yeah, it's a lot tougher, but they've got to have a lot of foresight to be able to do that.
Not foresight, planning.
Well, and they have to know their LTV.
Exactly. So here's what happens. Mom and pop want to get in the internet online business, and they're like, hey, look, I'm willing to spend $80 to make 100. Well, the guy who's willing to spend 200 to make back that first 100, well, the deal is he'll buy all your traffic and everybody else's traffic, and he'll spend a lot more than you will. I'll tell you a little inside thing is I know somebody very close to me who is a national best-selling author who would basically advertise to sell his $20 book plus $100 per book. But there was a funnel involved. People would click on a link. He knew the lifetime value. Most authors today, best-selling authors, you'd say, hey, look, if your book's $20, would you spend $100 to sell your book? I'll tell you this, Shecky. I talked to somebody the other day I got a referral from, and it just wasn't a right fit. Like, we just didn't work out for us. But basically what the guy does is he goes, look, I have national best-selling authors. And I go, we've helped, I think, 4 New York Times bestsellers at this point. And he's like, yeah, our authors don't have that much money. Like, they can't pay for 50 cents or $1 cost per click. They require like 3 or 5 cents. And I'm like, where do you get 3 to 5 cent clicks at unless they're untargeted? Well, see, my people, what we do is we do endorsement deals. So like somebody, pretty well known will post about the book. And when they post about the book, we'll get like 200 clicks back for like 2 cents a click. And I'm thinking, that's not really scalable.
No, that was my first thought. It's like, that's great. What happens when those 200 are over? That was my first thought.
Yeah, and then you go to another person, and then how many people do you go to until you just can't do it anymore? Like, I want to have like the business I gave an example for Ryan's, where for 8 years consistently, it's performing. Like,
just put it on cruise control.
Because speaking the language of each person that comes in, and every once in a while he'll do another deep dive survey just to further understand what else that they want. So to go back to Todd's point, for the person who's willing to spend $200 for that $100 customer, there are some large companies out there that will spend 18 months to get their ROI back because they understand what's going to happen over the course of a couple of years. A chiropractor many times is, a lot of times that we would tell chiropractors we would work with, we would say, look, if you're willing to spend $1,500 to acquire a customer, you should ideally make that $1,500 back within that first year. Everything else after that is profit. So let me ask you this. Do you have returning customers? Like, do you have the customer service that will allow someone to have a great time to return? They're like, yeah. Where do you get most of your business right now? They go referral. Great. So if we get 3 people a month, so this means we're going to spend $1,500, $1,500, $1,500. We're going to spend $4,500. We're going to get 3. Now, if we get 3 every month for the first 90 days, that's 9. Out of 9 people, do you think you can keep them coming back each month with a legitimate reason that you can service their health needs? He's like, I can help all of them and give great customer service. Great. If you give great customer service within the first 30 days, do people see a difference with you? Yes. Well, if most of your business is referrals, can you ask them for a referral? Yes. All right, wait a minute. So you're telling me you had a budget of $1,000. One of the last things I'll kind of address for today, Todd and I were talking about this, which is great. I love when I talk to clients, they're like, look, Kurt, I'm willing to spend, according to your math, $150 per customer. My lifetime value for a year is $1,500, so 10%. I'm like, where do you buy a stock for 10 cents and instantly make $1? Like, it doesn't really work, and you got to look at your advertising the exact same way, right? And what's really important, oh, Shecky, I'm going to sneeze. Hang on a second. Sorry about that.
False alarm.
False alarm. And what happens is when someone says, hey, look, Kurt, I'm willing to spend $150 for a $1,500 customer. My budget's $500 a month. All I have is $500 a month to spend. That's it. You already just told me that you believe that $500 is going to be burnt, gone up in flames. We're not going to learn anything. We're not going to get any opt-ins. We're not going to get any sales. Nothing's going to happen. Now, a good friend of mine, Shecky, the other day that you and I both know, who owns a jiu-jitsu club, called me. And he goes, Kurt, my budget is $1,500 a month. And I go, okay. Or he goes, $750 a month. Sorry, $750 a month. And I go, okay. How much is it for a brand new student to come in? $250. $250 the first month? Yeah. Do you think out of $750 a month we can get 3? He goes, yeah, we can get 3. So the next month that they pay their dues again, it's all profit.
Yep.
You keep 90 days, triple your profit? Yeah, for $750, you think we can get 3? Oh, yeah, it sounds great. Okay. So you think I can get 5 at $750? Ooh, yeah, that sounds good. Sounds good. Okay. So you're telling me you wouldn't spend more than $750 if we got 5. Is that right? Because it's all profit month 2, right? And he's like, So you want me to spend $1,500? And I go, no, I'm just saying, if we could get 5, would you be willing to spend $1,500? Well, if 5 joined, and I'm like, I don't think you understand. Well, as soon as you say you have a budget for $750, the budget doesn't matter as long as the math is converting. But you can't use stupid statements like we hear Shecky all the time. Look, I'll pay you in the agency just to run all my traffic. If I can put in $1 and get 2, I'll just pay you guys whatever just to do whatever. Well, you got to know your numbers to make that happen. You got to do a deep dive.
Yeah.
You got to do testing on ads. And Todd said this great. This is one of my favorite statements I will steal all the time. Todd says, dude, I don't know. We are not in the why business, so I have no idea why anything happens. All I know is that we need to deep dive our audience, test our message, keep on testing, know our numbers. All we're doing is buying information to make a better decision. Once it's consistent, then we can scale because we know what the lifetime value of the customer is in 30 days, 90 days, 6 months, and a year, and when we can break even. But until we do the deep dive, the quantified data, and we invest in the ad spend, I don't know. So saying you only have a $750 budget just automatically shows you think that you're going to burn the money versus, hey, what is this data going to buy me and how fast can I make changes? What can I do to move forward? And that's really, Shecky, what the 12-step scale process is all about. How to show people how to go step by step in each process.
Yeah, agreed. And it's important that you go through all that stuff because, like you said, I mean, I end up being oftentimes the filtration for people coming into our agency. And it's just amazing to me how many people are just like, they liken marketing to like a slot machine. Well, I just want to put in $1. I want to pull the one-arm bandit and get 2 back out every time. Well, really? How are you going to do that? You know, they don't really necessarily know their numbers. Maybe they've got a new offer that they haven't tested, and they think there's just like some magic there. Into some of these seasoned marketers like Todd Brown, who understands like, yeah, there really is no why. You just got to get in there, do the work, do the testing, buy the data, learn what works, learn what doesn't work, and then know your numbers. And once you know your numbers, then and only then does it become a pretty decent equation, because then it becomes easy to reverse engineer and say, yes, my budget now can be X because I can achieve Y, right?
Yeah.
As opposed to, you know, my budget's X and I don't really know the rest of it. You know, let's just burn up some money and see what happens. You know, like it's just, so yeah, I mean, I appreciate you doing that little thing. It's important for people to see that and to hear it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I mean, here's what happens when former girlfriend of mine used to say this, when you net the whole thing out. You can't start with $100 and expect to make $1,000 tomorrow. You can't buy a big chunk of gold for $5,000, hoping the gold price is going to go up tomorrow where you can sell it back for $10,000. It just doesn't happen that way. So when you start out, even when you have a budget of $1,000 and to say, look, I'm going to take $1,000, I'm going to pay for lead pages, I'm going to pay for some ads, and I'm going to start buying data. Now I got to figure out how I'm going to buy this data, because as a regular business, you're going to invest a couple $1,000s either in back and forth learning or experimenting or training or handheld assistance. This is why we do the whole scale method, right? To really hold your hand through the process. Either way, you're going to have to buy data at some point to make decisions. Now, you can either buy data very slowly over a long period of time for a guesstimation, or you can buy quick data to get some rough decisions to continue momentum, or you can buy a whole lot of data at first, stop, sift, do some research, and then move forward. Now, all of those are brilliant ideas, and all of those are completely stupid ideas depending on what business you have. You don't require a huge deep dive for some businesses to get started, but you also really require some deep dives before you really start marketing. I didn't say started, I said marketing and creating your products. So, Shecky, in the next couple of weeks, we are going to be meeting with Ryan. We'll have an event with Ryan where he's going to be releasing a new version of the Ask Method that's coming out. It's a new training, and it's absolutely brilliant. But what we're going to do is, like we always do, we're going to lead by example first. You know, just like I told Todd, hey, Todd, we were at your event in October. You made a mention of something about creating a really specific method, especially for what we do. Look what we have today. He was just blown away. Now with Ryan, we're going to incorporate that as well, and now we're going to be able to serve our audience even more. But to make this even more meta, just like we did when we recorded the scale factor or the scale method, Shecky, we're going to show people what we're doing with the survey process. So by the time that Ryan's new event comes out, people are already going to start seeing the results from us directly and how they can do the same thing for their own business. It's brilliant. It helps serve people. It's going to help with ads. It's going to be great. I'm really excited.
Good. I'm excited about it. I'm sure I'm going to hear more about it on Wednesday at our meeting.
Absolutely. All right, everybody. Thanks again very much. We'll send a replay out as well, too. Again, it's great having you guys over here. We'll figure out a really easy format to share content. You'll see the replay here in just a little bit. And I just wanted to say I appreciate every single one of you. Thank you again, Shaggy, for your time. Thank you for being here.
Really great. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, guys. Take care. All right, bye.